When I want to relax, fishing is one of my favorite ways to do so. It's not about catching fish to me, but rather being alone with nature. Fishing, however, is great when the experience is shared with another. I created this video to share with you guys all that I've learned about this pastime in hopes that you learn something new in the world of fishing. Fishing isn't as easy as Minecraft makes it out to be. It's actually very complex, and before I teach you how to use the rod and what kind of baits to use and where to fish, I'm going to first show you the many different parts of the rod. The first part of the fishing rod we're going to talk about is the handle, which ranges from here to here, excluding this piece right up here. So, starting at the bottom of the reel, we have what's known as the butt cap, this black piece. Then extending forward, we have this section right here, which can actually twist and untwist, and this part is called the reel seat. It is where the reel sits on. And ending, we have it connects here to what's starting to the part that people consider the rod. Alright, so continuing on, I'm going to talk about the butt. Now the butt isn't this whole rod. It's actually just the bottom half of it. And it will usually end at one of these little black parts right here, and it will be a female part, and the male part would go into the female part. However, my rod does not do that, but I will still be referring to the bottom half of my rod as the butt. Starting at the bottom, you'll see this little notch right here, and what you'll do with that is you'll actually take your bait, you'll pull it all the way across, and hook it into that little loop to keep it there. It is called the hook keeper. I, like most people, will just use one of these guides, these butt guides, at the closer to the top half of the rod. And as you can see, my rod has several butt guides. One here, 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 and a big one here. I like to think of the handle and the rod as the foundation of what we're using, and the reel as the real operator or system of our operation. So the reel is quite complex, and hopefully by describing what the different parts do, I can help break it down for you. So starting at the reel seat is actually where the reel connects to the rod. See, this part right here is known as the reel foot. Now the black parts extend into the silver bits, and as I said before, I can unscrew and screw this. So I can actually remove the reel from the rod handle, and I can replace a new or different reel onto the handle. So the reel is not permanently attached to the handle. To actually cast out the line, there are three parts that control that. You have the bail, the spool, and the line roller. So the line roller, when I'm reeling it back in, causes the line to successfully wrap around the spool, which holds the fishing line. To cast it out, I have to remove the line roller. So to do that, I flip up the bail, causing the line roller to fall off. Not fall off, but give off. Oh my god.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
So to get the line off of the spool, what you'll need to do is you need to lift up the bail, and it causes the line roller to come back down. The reason why you have to do that is because the line roller helps wrap the line around the spool, and you can't cast it out with that on. So you have to release it to get the line roller off the line to allow the line to freely come off the spool. Again, the line roller, when the bail's down, helps wrap the line around the spool. So those are all the parts of the fishing line. I hope you guys have a better understanding of how this tool works, and I can't wait to show you more about fishing. Now that we understand how to use the rod, we're going to take a look at the different types of tackle. So the first bit of tackle we're going to talk about are different types of baits or hooks. This is what you guys are probably most familiar with, just a standard fish hook. What you probably have not seen before is this right here. This hook has a weight on it, and what it helps is it helps the hook sink deeper in the water. You see, this hook is light enough to where it will just float onto the water. And so what fishermen also do is they might add just a hook, but add a little weight at the end to help the hook sink down further. So you also are probably aware that fishermen use live bait to catch things, but you can also use fake bait like these wacky worms or fake worms. And so all you have to do is thread the hook through the worm like such, and you cast it, and it looks just like a worm to the fish. Now there are different ways to to hook the hook through the worm. You, for example, can hook it long ways and have like the worm be like this, and so when they bite on, you pull and the hook comes out like that. You can also buy worms that have hooks already in them, so all you have to do is tie the line onto your other line, and when they bite on, it hooks onto them like that. Now we have other types of baits that try to imitate fish. This fish right here is supposed to imitate a small fish, and as you can see, it has a hook up here, so when a bigger fish bites onto it or tries to swallow it, it will get hooked on. This little fish, which I've caught a lot of bluegill with, had actually a little thing at the end, but I lost it. But it still works just as fine, and its eyes kind of fell off. But basically, this is just a smaller version of this, and it's just for attracting smaller fish that are bigger than it. So there's a different type of baits or lures that look like fish, and these are called crankbaits. So you can see they have these little lips on them, and so when you cast them out, and as you reel it in, these lips actually cause them to go deeper into the water, and they kind of cause them to go and have a back and forth motion, which can attract a lot of different kinds of fish, like largemouth bass or smallmouth bass. Here's a bigger version, and then here's a smaller version for smaller fish. The last type of bait I have for you guys today are called inline spinners or spinners. So here's a small one, and here's a pretty big one. So basically what you do is, for this one, you tie the line onto this part here, and as you drag it through the water, apparently it looks like a fish to them. I don't know. They do go after it though. I've caught about two bluegills on this one. This one is for much bigger fish that I'm not going to catch in this little pond area we have here. But again, same principle as this one. You attach the line to this part here, and as you drag it through, somehow it looks like a bluegill to them or some medium-sized fish. And they'll bite onto it, and the hooks are in the back. The hook for this one's here. The hook for this one is back here. These last things aren't bait, but you will see them in your tackle box. For example, these needles are for when you have a hook that's pretty deep in the fish. You'll just go in, grab the needle with the tweezers, and you'll pull it out. You'll use these scissors often to cut the lines off of the lures that you're using. You will use this rope, and you'll like attach it to your boat or something. And what you'll do is you'll string it through all the fish that you caught if you want to take them home, and you let them stay in the water if the water's cool enough for you to do that. So you have a string of fish. And then this piece right here is called a bobber or a stopper. And you basically, for most of them, you just pull down. Some of them you have to make a little knot with the line, but it keeps the hook from moving, and it keeps it suspended at whatever level you set the bobber away from the bait. Alright, here in my garage, I'm going to show you guys everything you need to know about lines, how to put the line on the rod, and interesting methods to do so. So here in front of me, I have different types of test line. Here's a 20-pound test line, and these two are both 6-pound test lines. So what's the difference between 20 and 6 pounds? Well, a 6-pound test line will break if a force that is greater than 7 pounds or 6 pounds is applied to it. For example, 7, 8, or 9 pounds. The 20-pound test line is much thicker and will only break if a force that is stronger than 20 pounds is pulled on it. Now, Kolsch and I had this genius idea of like, why would you ever use 6-pound test line? Why wouldn't you just always use the thickest one possible so that the line never breaks? Well, you have to look at the rod. You see, on the rod, if I can find where it says on here that this rod is a 2 to 6 pound test line. Is a 2 to 6 pound rod. So anything that goes above 5 to 10, and anything that goes above 10 pounds will break this rod. So you usually want your line to break before your rod. So because this test line is 6 pounds, it's going to break before the rod breaks. Whereas if I had this line, if I had something that exceeded 10 pounds, this line would not break. Instead, my rod would break, which is why they also have more heavy duty rods too. And really, you don't want to have the heaviest duty rod either, because each rod is used for different situations. Really heavy duty ones are more for like ocean fishing or catching huge fish. I'm just catching small bass and just like local pond fish. And so this equipment right here is all I'll need. So how I put the line on is, first I have to take off this sticker here. And now I save it because I'll point this out real quick. I'm just gonna set it over here. Some of the spools don't have a place to put the line back onto. And so you need to put that sticker back on so that your line doesn't fly all over the place. This spool right here, let's put this all back, has little slits in them that you can hook the line into, preventing it from coming out. So make sure, if it comes with the sticker, don't throw it away. I made that mistake once, I'm not gonna make it again. First thing I'm gonna do is loosen up some line, grab my rod, and I'm gonna make a square knot onto the spool. A square knot starts off by going just like a normal knot that you would typically do, up and down, if I can manage. Again, I'm not really great at tying knots. All right, I did that, up and down all the way through. And then I'm gonna do the same thing, but in the opposite direction. That's the most important part, is that you do it in the opposite direction for the second knot. Again, you'll probably be much better at tying this than me. I'm just really bad. All right, now I give it a couple yanks to make sure it's all good, and I test it out to make sure it doesn't slip off. And it's all good. So now what I'm gonna do is I'll take scissors, cut it off, and I'll show you how to finish this off. There are lots of different techniques from putting the line onto the spool, and the reason why there are many techniques is because of memory. Now, a 6-pound test line is not gonna have as much memory as a 20-pound test line, which my friend and I discovered, and it's awful, and I'll explain why in a little bit. But what memory is like, if you take a ruler and you bend the ruler, it's gonna bend back, right? It remembers its original position. So this is the line on these spools here. So when you take it off, you see how big this spool is and how little this one is? It'll have the tendency to spring out and not hold and not stay on to here. So a 6-pound test line has like next to no memory. A 20-pound test line, it's gonna start popping out, and you're gonna have a nightmare. My friend and I Colshire and I, we spent like 2 days trying to get it on. Not worth it, but for what we were doing. But so there's an easy way to at least eliminate memory and to make sure the line goes on to the spool properly, because you want the line to go on the spool the same direction it came off this one. And I'll show you guys how to do that. Spool in this water bucket right now. The water is warm, and that helps eliminate memory. Again, there's going to be next to no memory on the 6-pound test line just by itself, but with the warm water, it's going to definitely get rid of most of it. The 20-pound test line is going to have a lot more memory. But I just realized I made a mistake. When I put on my line, the line, notice how it goes over the bail when the bail's down? If you recall from how I showed you earlier, the line's actually supposed to go underneath the bail, so it gets caught on to the part that reels it in right here. I forgot his name at the moment. But I need to undo my line, untie it here, and put it underneath. So I'll be back in a sec. All right, real quick though, fishing is not free. Well, obviously you have to buy stuff, but you still have to pay to fish. See, to get you have to have a fishing license, or else you're in trouble. You have to pay a fee. You don't want that. So what you gotta do is you gotta go to your good old friend Google and look up how to get a fishing license. All right, and then oh, for Ohio. That's the important for it. Ohio. All right. Now I went to ohiodnr.gov. This is the website you want to go to. All right. Fishing, Ohio. Purchase a fishing license. Ooh, Lake somehow. That's for later. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to buy a license or permit. You can also reprint your previous purchase. So keep that in mind too. All right. As you can see, you can read through this. All this stuff is important, but you got to select your option. So select identifier. Wow. You have to select what you're using to identify yourself with, and then you have to fill in that information. And then you continue on with that, and then you'll have to give your social, your what's it called? Your full zip code, not just 43026 or whatever it is, but like the specific zip code for where you live, which you can look that up on Google. And then you have the date of birth, ID, all sorts of government stuff, and then you have to pay. I believe I paid $20 for a year fishing license, and then you can actually buy licenses that extend for longer than a year. You can do like 2 years, 3. You can do a lifetime license. I think that's like $400, maybe $600. I forget. But after you do all that, then you pay your credit card information, and it's a lot of information. It seems freaky because like they're asking for your social and like your specific stuff, but this is the website you want to go to, ODNR Division of Wildlife, Ohio. This is O is for Ohio, and you'll be all set. All right, back to the program. Alrighty, thank you, Hayden, for that commercial break. Now we are back with it properly, the line properly underneath the bail. All right, so now what we're going to do with the spool in the bucket of water, I'm going to hold a firm grip on the line and wrap it around. This part is really fun because it is, I don't know, it's whatever. Now, usually people say you want like 150 yards on, or up until you kind of reach the end of the spool where you don't want to like overflow the spool. So you got a lot to go. And the reason why you do it, fill it up a lot, is because for many reasons, as I found like last time, I didn't do enough. I'd only put on like, I don't know, maybe 50 yards. Every time you change your line, you have to cut a little bit off. If it gets stuck on a rock, you have to cut a little bit off. Or a lot off, actually. Took off most of my line. Which you'll see, my line is different than it was before because I lost most of it while getting that bass. I actually caught that bass with barely any line on it. But having plenty of line is very important because you're going to lose a lot. It's just to be expected. So you just put on way more than you're going to need. Another good reason why you want to have a lot of line on is because the fish might be pulling it pretty hard and you might have to go after it high. And so the fish might be pulling on that line and may go way further than you could cast it. So having a lot of line on is never a bad idea. So I'll give it a few more turns because I've been traumatized already by not having enough line on. So that should be more than enough. So now what I do is I take my amazing blue scissors. Scissors are very important for your tackle box. And I cut the line, and I cut the line. Okay. And now what I do is I feed it through the guides. And I'll show you that in a second because I need to reposition my camera. Alrighty. So to put it through, it's actually really easy. Just flip it up like how you would release the line normally, and you'd feed it through the guides. So one up through here. This is not my favorite part, if you can't tell. And then continuing up. And you probably can't see, but basically I'm just going all the way through each guide and almost at the tip top. Here I am at the tip top, putting it through. It's very important you go through the holes. There are like some like here, I'll show you guys. There's like these little gaps and they get smaller and smaller. I put the line through there. You don't want to do that. Don't be like me. Okay, now I'm gonna close the bail off. Actually, I'm gonna open it because I need to go a little bit lower. All right, and now I need to tighten it just a little bit. because I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's this little black loop right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my line, I'm going to hook it through there. This is kind of used for when you first get the fresh line on, you don't have any hooks on or anything. It's kind of hard for me to put on because I have really fat fingers, but you just twist it around. Eventually you twist it around. Basically you just twist it around and it stays. It will take me literally 10 minutes to do this because look at these. But yeah, 10 minutes just took me 3, but I got it on. I think you can see it better now. It kind of blends in with the rest of the black. As you can see, I just looped it through. All right, now I'm going to show you what to do with the rest of the stuff. So the rest of the spools in here, still got plenty of spool left. I think there's like 330 yards, so you can do like, you know, 2 whole lines. I think I'm going to give this to my friend actually because he lost all his line on a fishing venture that you'll see in a little bit. So I felt bad. He gave me the line that I had. So, you know, fishing, there's a lot of trading. But basically all you got to do is wrap the line back around. And for this one, you grab that sticker that you didn't throw away to peel it off my tackle box, and you slap it back on. And there you go. All good. And that, my friends, is how you put on fishing line. Not my favorite part, but you gotta do it. Alrighty. So, now that we all know what we're doing now with fishing, how to do the line and rod, I'm going to show you guys how to actually fish. Exciting. Alright, let's hop in. How to put the line onto the hook onto the line. But before I even mention that, these were the other weights I was telling you about. Pretty cool. Anyways, back to putting the hook onto the line. First thing you need to do is you need to put the line through the opening of the hook. Very important. Now what you do is you twist the line about 4 to 5 times around itself. This is hard for me to do because I have fat fingers, but I'm sure you guys will be great. And then, all right, that should be enough. Now, next thing you do is you see how there's that little loop left at the bottom? You take the end of the line and you pull it through. And then you grab onto it after you pull it through and you tighten the whole thing. And now you have that little knot at the top. And to make sure it's good, I always give it a little yank without stabbing myself. And we should all be good. That is how you put a line on a hook. Aw. Action.
Okay, I'm going to teach you how to cast a rod. So I have my bait and my hook up here. I have a hook that has a weight on it. This is what the weights will look like if you clamp them up on the line instead of having a weight on the hook. But anyways, back to casting. So what you want to do is you want to take the line pretty close to the spool, but not exactly touching it, and pull it up so where you have it braced against your finger and the rod itself. So what you want to do is you want to flick this thing back, and there's 2 ways to cast a rod. You can cast it sideways, which is more of a flick, and you can cast it overhand, which is more of just like a fling. So if you want to cast it to the side, you want to take it and put it to the side, almost 90 degrees, not quite, on your dominant side. So I'm left-handed, so it's going to be on my left side. And so you hold it in a position that's most comfortable for you. Then you kind of just use your wrists, mainly of your dominant hand, but also a little bit of your other hand. And just kind of flick it. And as you flick it, you want to let go of your finger. There's really no way to tell what the perfect time is. You just got to figure it out yourself. So you just flick it like that. So this is the overhand cast. So what you're going to do is you're going to take it to your dominant side again, and you're going to hold it the line with your finger up against it, and hold it up like this, like behind you. And so there's multiple ways to do this. You can either fling it around like that, but that is more for experienced fishers. That's called fly fishing, and I'm not an experienced fisher, so I'm just going to fling it forward. So what you do is you pull up the spool, or this thingy, and then you just throw it overhand like that. And then make sure, once you cast it, to put this bar back down. I forgot to mention on the other one.
What you're about to see are two boys pathetically trying to take a fish off of a hook. Warning, do not attempt this at home.
Fish I've ever caught, so I'm really scared right now because I don't really know how to grab it without like killing myself. Koshal, do you know how to?
Yeah, just grab it like any other fish.
All right, Koshal, demonstrate because I'm
Hold
a big wimp.
Hold it. Okay. So what you do is you hold it like this. If you hold it by the rod, then it's going to hurt the fish. So what you do is you just grab it. Woo!
Exactly.
Just grab it like that. Then you take the hook, and you just kind of try and pry it out. Oh, I almost got it.
Koshal, wait here. Go at it again. Oh, this is definitely going into the final cut of the video.
Should be bloopers. So you just, oh my gosh, dude, you got it good.
I know.
Jeez.
Sorry, I didn't expect to catch it. Like I should have been filming this. Sorry, guys. This is the fun part of fishing right here, and the worst part. Does he even have a dorsal fin? The dorsal fin is usually right above his head.
Dude, try and get that out. It's
Okay.
literally stuck in there, dude.
That's why I had the tweezers. I don't even have the tweezers on with me. I was not expecting to catch a fish.
Okay, put this in the water. Don't let it die.
Yeah, you're right. Here, can you grab the phone? This is eventful. This is... Okay.
Yeah.
It's in the water. It's swimming around right now. It's all good. Just can't go far. All right, grab the phone, grab the phone.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be the big man here.
Be careful on that rock, Hayden. There you go. Now you just got to work it out.
That wasn't that bad,
There you go.
right? See, it takes a while to man up, is all we're saying.
I loosened it.
And then what you do is you just gently release it back into the wild. And off it goes.
For reference, that was about a half pounder. That's still a baby fish. The average bass that you're going to find is around 2 to 3 pounds. It's probably going to be, here, hold this. It's probably going to be about that big. The fish he caught was about that big, so.
So fun.
Oh yeah, it is. It really is.
Alright, so the following footage is a much better example of how to take a fish off the hook.
As you can see, I just caught a fish. Actually, same spot before. I'm gonna reel it in now. Kind of stopped fighting. Bluegills don't like to fight. Hey, pull it in me. Got another one. Alright. So, trying to get my... Okay. So, as you see that fin at the top, that's called the dorsal fin. That thing's really sharp. And the thing at the bottom, that other fin, I actually don't know what that fin's called. But it's also really sharp. So you don't want to touch those. Like, I mean, you can, but they're like bad. So what I have to do, is like grab it from its belly, and like closer to its head. So you see how like the dorsal fins are there, but those fins are like there. So I'm basically gripping in the middle. Again, just got a little pricked, pretty sharp, but it is what it is. And I'm gonna put this on here, try to release the fish for you guys. Hooks, ooh, my thumb's in the way. Hooks right there. This is another bluegill. Just a tiny little guy. Alright, took way too long, but I got it out. And this dorsal fin is actually in my skin. So that's sweet. But yeah, you'll bleed a lot while fishing. I was gonna let it back out. Ah! Yeah, I'm still pathetic.
Alright, well, I hope you guys learned something about the world of fishing. I had a great joy in making this video. There are lots of challenges that came along with making it, filming it, downloading all this stuff, but it was well worth it to me, and I hope you guys found it well worth your time to watch. Thank you, and have a great day.